For 20 years, my God was the scalpel. My scripture was the medical journal. And my church was the sterile, cold, bright operating theater of St. Thomas Hospital in London. I didn't believe in miracles. I didn't believe in souls. To me, a human being was nothing more than a biological machine, a sophisticated assembly of carbon, water, and electrical impulses. Love was just dopamine. Fear was just cortisol. And death? Death wasn't a spiritual transition. It was simply a system failure. A power cut, nothing more. My name is Dr. Elizabeth Sterling. I was one of the leading obstetricians in the UK. I had the awards, the penthouse overlooking the Thames, and the reputation of a woman who never lost a patient. I walked through the hospital corridors with the arrogance of someone who thought they held the keys to life and death in their hands. But I was wrong. I was so incredibly wrong. And it took a dying baby and a father's whisper to shatter my entire universe. It was a Tuesday night in November. I remember the rain was hammering against the glass of my office, a relentless, gray London downpour. I was exhausted, staring at my reflection in the window, feeling that familiar emptiness I tried so hard to ignore. You know that feeling? When you have everything the world says you should want, but inside, you feel like a hollow shell? That was me. I saved lives every day, yet I felt completely lifeless. Then the pager on my hip screamed. Code red, Labor Ward 4. The emptiness vanished, replaced by adrenaline. I switched into machine mode. I grabbed my white coat and ran. When I burst into the room, the situation was chaotic. The patient was Amina, a young woman, barely 24. She was in the throes of a massive placental abruption. For those who aren't doctors, this means the placenta had detached from the wall of the uterus before the baby was born. She was bleeding out internally. The baby was suffocating. The monitors were screaming, that high-pitched, rhythmic alarm that haunts every doctor's nightmares. Nurses were scrambling, shouting out blood pressure readings that were dropping too fast. BP is 80/40. Fetal heart rate is dropping. We're losing them both. I barked orders. Get 2 units of O negative. Prep theater immediately. We have 5 minutes, or this baby is dead. But in the middle of this hurricane of panic, something stopped me cold. It was the husband, Ahmed. In all my years of practice, I have seen hundreds of fathers in this situation. They scream. They cry. They threaten us. They faint. It's normal. But Ahmed was doing none of that. He was holding Amina's hand, his forehead glistening with sweat, but his face was like a calm lake in the middle of a storm. He was whispering to her. Not frantic pleas, but a rhythmic, melodic recitation. I snapped at him. Sir, you need to step back. We are taking her now. He looked up at me. His eyes were red, but they were focused. He didn't look at me with fear. He looked at me with trust. Not trust in me, but something else. Doctor, he said, his voice steady despite the chaos. Do your best. We trust in Allah's plan. I remember feeling a flash of anger. Allah's plan? I thought. Your wife is bleeding to death. My scalpel is the only plan you have right now. I will save them, I said sharply. Just stay out of my way. The surgery was brutal. I cut through the layers of tissue with the speed and precision that had made me famous. I clamped the bleeders. I reached into the womb. Scalpel down. Suction. I pulled the baby out. A boy, but there was no cry. The room went silent. The only sound was the mechanical hiss of the ventilator breathing for the mother. The baby was blue, limp, lifeless. The cord had been wrapped around his neck tight. Too tight. He's not breathing, the pediatric nurse whispered. Start bagging, I ordered. Compressions now. We went to work. 1 minute passed. 2 minutes. 3. In the medical world, 3 minutes without oxygen is the threshold. After that, brain damage begins. After 5 minutes, hope starts to fade. I was massaging the tiny chest with my thumbs, willing the heart to start. Come on, I thought. Come on, little machine. Start. Work. But the line on the monitor remained flat. 4 minutes. The nurse looked at me. Her eyes said it all. It's over, doctor. Call it. My science told me to stop. My training told me he was gone. The physiology was clear. The hypoxia was too severe. There was no coming back from this. But then, I remembered Ahmed's face. We trust in Allah's plan. I felt a sudden, crushing weight of helplessness. For the first time in 20 years, I realized I wasn't a god. I was just a woman standing over a dying child with useless tools in her hands. My science had hit a wall. And then, I did something I hadn't done since I was a child. I didn't speak it aloud, but my heart screamed it. If you are there, if you exist, breathe life into him. I can't do it. You do it. I stopped compressions for a second to check for a pulse. Nothing. I was about to say the words, time of death. And then, a twitch. A tiny, almost imperceptible jerk of the baby's hand. Then a gasp. A ragged, wet gasp of air. And then, a cry. It wasn't a weak whimper. It was a roar. A loud, furious, beautiful scream that filled the operating theater. The monitor beeped. Beep, beep, beep. A strong, steady rhythm. Color flooded back into his skin, turning from gray to pink in seconds. The nurses gasped. One of them actually started crying. I stood there frozen. My hands were shaking so hard I had to drop them to my side so no one would see. Medically, that shouldn't have happened. The pH levels in his blood, the duration of hypoxia. He should be dead, or at least severely brain damaged. But he was crying. He was fighting. He was alive. After we stabilized Amina and the baby, I went out to find Ahmed. I expected to find him pacing, or perhaps collapsed in relief. I found him in the waiting room corridor, kneeling on the floor, his forehead touching the cold tiles. He stood up when he saw me. He didn't ask, "Is he alive?" He just smiled, a smile of absolute, terrifying peace. "He is crying," Ahmed said. I heard him. "Mr. Ahmed," I said, trying to regain my professional composure. "It was a miracle. We lost him for 4 minutes. I don't know how he came back." Ahmed looked me in the eyes and said something that changed my life forever. "Dr. Elizabeth, you treated him. But God cured him. You are the hand, but he is the mover." I wanted to argue. I wanted to say, "No, I did the compressions. I gave the epinephrine." But I couldn't, because I knew in the deepest part of my soul that I had given up. I had failed. Something else had intervened in that room. "Why?" I asked him. My voice broke. "Why are you so calm? You almost lost everything today." "Because, doctor," he replied gently, "this baby is not mine. He is an amana, a trust from Allah. If he takes him back, he is wise. If he lets him stay, he is merciful. Either way, we are content. Content. I had millions in the bank, and I wasn't content." He was a taxi driver sitting in a plastic chair in a hospital hallway facing death, and he was content. I went home that night, but I couldn't sleep. The word Amanda kept echoing in my head. I walked into my library, surrounded by expensive medical textbooks. These books explained how the heart pumps, how the cells divide, how the neurons fire. But looking at them now, I realized they were silent on the most important question. Why? Why do we exist? Why did that baby live? Why did I feel so empty? I opened my laptop. I hesitated. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I felt like I was betraying my scientific principles. But I typed it anyway. Islamic view on embryology. I expected to find myths. I expected to find ancient folklore about magic and storks. Instead, I found the Quran. I began to read verses that described the development of the human embryo.